Hello, everybody. You're watching The Political Vigilante, and my name is Graham Elwood. I did it in the crazy order, right? I'm Graham Elwood. This face, too political. I had a billboard rejected because it had my name and face and the time of a show. It's too political. And there's Political Vigilante. That's too political. So this, just hope you guys know you're watching the most censored in America now. I've had 6 Instagram ads rejected for being just clips of my special manifested. Please watch it. It's way too political for the ruling elites to handle. So spread the word on that and tell people how much I'm being censored. I did a separate video that you can watch showing how censored I've become. And come to a live show before they put me in Belmarsh prison. So April 22nd, you can watch Anything Can Happen game show. It's live. It's a live streaming show, so you can watch it anywhere. And then I'm doing live stand-up comedy in Hawaii, Maui, April 27th, Kona, April 28th, Honolulu, April 29th. And then I'm in Arizona in May, Phoenix, May 11th, Tucson, May 12th. Go to grahamelwood.com for tickets. And follow me on social media because I'm very much censored there as well. We've been demonetized for 2 years. This is insane. This is too political. This face, too political. Surfing socialist comedians with vegan guns, too political. So we're going to keep doing what we're doing. So please support what we're doing because this is the people's channel and they don't want you guys to know about this stuff. They don't want to give you guys a voice because a lot of times you guys send me stories like Tim Stack. This story was sent to us by Tim Stack. Tim Stack has been supporting this show at patreon.com/Graham Elwood. You can see that web address scrolling below. It's a great way to support the show and you can submit articles like this. What this article is going to show you is how the Vatican is like righting wrongs from centuries ago, but the United States Supreme Court won't because we are a dystopian, kleptocratic, I don't even know what, just fascist regime run by oligarchs. Like, it's just insane what America is. It's just insane. So this was submitted. Vatican renounces Doctrine of Discovery. When will the Supreme Court do likewise? This is in liberation.org, liberationnews.org. Great website for alternative news. So what the 5 centuries ago, the Doctrine of Discovery was in essence a doctrine that said all lands not occupied by Christians, this is the Vatican doing great work 500 years ago, passed into the hands of European conquerors as soon as they were discovered and their inhabitants enslaved. So this is the ethnocentric, sort of Christian-centric, white nationalist, ethno-nationalist, colonial imperialism of centuries ago. And so the Vatican said, you could just go take whatever land. If they're not Christians there, it's yours. So that this doctrine fed the whole brutality of, the indigenous savages. And so we can just slaughter them and take their land. And if you read Christopher Columbus's own diary, he admits to just awful acts of genocide. He admits to trafficking children. He's like the original Epstein. It's awful. And so the Vatican helped make this happen. So the Pope says it's okay to come take your land and kill everybody because you're not a Christian. You're a filthy heathen if you're not a Christian. That was basically the sentiment. And anyone that's offended at this, hey, I was raised Catholic, so I have many, many problems with the Catholic Church. This being one of them. Protecting pedophile priests is also on the list, I would say, but there's centuries old awful shit the Vatican has participated in. This is one of them. And the Vatican at least has recognized this issue and corrected it. But I'm going to show you how the Supreme Court still uses this doctrine and won't change it. So these decrees were issued between 1452 and 1497. It served as a quasi-legal justification for the exploitation of entire continents in the name of spreading the Catholic faith. Catholicism. I mean capitalism. I mean imperialism. The repudiation by the Pope is the culmination of decades of struggle by indigenous peoples in the United States, Canada, and around the world demanding its withdrawal. So people from around the world have been pressuring the Vatican to get rid of this, right? And they finally were successful. They've been protesting this for decades. It's 500 years of evil. They've been protesting it for decades, and they were finally successful. The Pope was like, this new sort of progressive Pope. I know that's a little bit of an oxymoron, but I'll give the guy a little bit of credit. He's saying it's okay for gay marriage. He's trying to. I don't think you can. I think you can change the Catholic Church, but he's tried. Vaya con Dios, mi amigo. But while the Pope has now renounced it, so the Pope has renounced it, which when the Pope says something, that's it. That's law. The Pope has renounced it. The U.S. Supreme Court has not. The High Court continues to treat the doctrine as an integral basis of U.S. law, particularly in regards to the rights or lack thereof of Native peoples. Most notable in recent times was a 2005 decision authored by the late liberal justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Oh, she was such a great liberal. This is the dystopia of America. The far right, the right wing, is so nutbag out to lunch. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who's basically center right on most issues, is never held accountable for this awful crap. She could have even stepped down during Obama's term to guarantee. Obama could have forced in 2 liberal justices while he was in office. So we wouldn't even be having these issues about the abortion drug and all that. This would be moot points, but thanks, Ruth. So this was authored by late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which invoked the Doctrine of Discovery in her majority ruling against the Oneida Indian Nation. So she invoked the Doctrine of Discovery. The Oneidas were seeking to recover lands and rights in central New York State guaranteed to them under the 1794 Treaty, Canadiuga, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, forgive me, treaty in the U.S., signed by George Washington, then president. Another treaty, one of the many long line of treaties the United States government reneged on with the Native Americans. The Oneidas, one of 6 nations of the Haudenosaunee Iroquois Confederacy, were awarded 300,000 acres in perpetuity in the treaty. By the 20th century, nearly all of that land had been taken over. In the 70s, the Oneidas began buying small parcels of what had been their reservation land, including in the small city of Sherrill, New York. They objected to the demand by the city that they pay property taxes on the basis that they were a sovereign nation. While the Oneidas won in lower federal courts, the Supreme Court ruled against them 8-1, with Ginsburg authoring the decision. Way to go, Ruth. She fights for our rights. And by our, we mean white liberals. Under the Doctrine of Discovery, this is Ruth Bader Ginsburg's language that she read. So this is a matter of public record. So no one can say, oh, I'm just going after Ruth Bader Ginsburg because I hate freedom or women or whatever nonsense the liberals would say. I'm an anti-war, pro-labor socialist, which is why I'm not a fan of the Democratic Party. Obviously don't like the Republicans, and this is why I don't like the Democrats. Her words: under the Doctrine of Discovery, title to the land occupied by Indians when the colonists arrived became vested in the sovereign, first the discovering European nation and later the original states in the United States. Given the longstanding non-Indian character of the area and its inhabitants, the regulatory authority consistently exercised by New York State and its countries and towns, and the Oneida's long delay in seeking judicial relief against parties other than the United States, we hold that the tribe cannot unilaterally revive its ancient sovereignty in whole or in part and the parcels at issue. In 2020, the Supreme Court, by a 5-4 vote, upheld the right of Native nations to reservations that would have included nearly half of Oklahoma. Well, this was a victory for a coalition of Native nations. Right-wing Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the majority opinion upholding the government's power to deny the right of self-determination to Indian peoples. Once a reservation is established, it remains that status until Congress explicitly indicates otherwise, wrote Gorsuch. Only Congress can alter the terms of an Indian treaty by diminishing a reservation, and its intent to do must be clear and plain. How did a loathsome doctrine authored in feudal times, this was authored in the 1400s, is still having play in American courts today? which became a foundational dealing with Native nations, is in a key in the 1823 case. So, following the Vatican's repudiation, the struggle will intensify for the U.S. government to do the same. So, folks, this is where you come in. This is where you petition lawmakers. This is where you get loud. And really, it's another embarrassing thing for America's so-called democracy. The Vatican, the Pope, is more open-minded than Ruth Bader Ginsburg and everyone on the Supreme Court, the current Supreme Court. The right wing is always doing awful stuff, and it's always out in the open, and they're always there quietly helping them are the Democrats, the liberals. Always the Pelosi's, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Chuck Schumers. They're always there helping out Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, the Clintons, Obama, always helping out these awful right-wingers. Because at the end of the day, that's the ruling elites. The ruling elites are the Republicans and the Democrats, because the ruling elites own both parties. So our two political parties are puppets. They're puppets. So there you go, guys. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. And it's all about the money. Well, we can't let the Native Americans not pay taxes because they were told they didn't have to when they were given their land back in a treaty under George Washington. No, we're going to evoke some Vatican shit from the 1400s. Oh, it totally sounds fair. Totally fair. It's just... Oh, America is such a scam. Such a scam. Well, support what we're doing, folks. We've been completely censored by Instagram, by YouTube. They don't want me talking about stuff like this because this isn't, when I call out the evils of the Democrats from the left, this doesn't fit the narrative. If I was a conservative just saying the Democrats are a bunch of socialists, blah, blah, this channel would be doing fine. If I was just a liberal going, the Republicans are evil, right-wing Nazis, this channel would be doing fine. Because that feeds the narrative. They need us fighting with each other. But when I'm saying the whole system's broken, and here's how awful the Democrats are, they're just as awful as the Republicans in many ways. It doesn't feed the narrative. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, this big feminist hero for rights, she went against Native Americans. She sided with the Vatican, a Vatican doctrine from the 1400s. Yeah, that doesn't fit the narrative that she's this go-getter woman fighting the patriarchy. She supports the patriarchy. She supports the patriarchy because the white patriarchy and matriarchy, she's benefited from the patriarchy. Very much so. She's had to take some sexist shit. Yeah. But at the end of the day, push comes to shove, that ruling shows you she'll defend white ruling elites over helping Native Americans or people of color. At the end of the day, she will always do that. There's quotes of her saying racist stuff. I mean, so she's no lefty hero. And I'm not saying she didn't have to go through a bunch of sexist crap dealing with the boys club of the court system in America. She did, but then she gets to power and you'd think, oh, she'd be really sensitive to groups that have been marginalized. Nope. She's sympathetic to other white women, but women of color, other people of color, not so much. Not so much. Well, I hope the pressure keeps up on this country, and I hope you have the success that you had with the Vatican, because it was wrong. And the Vatican realized it was wrong, but not the United States Supreme Court. Another big loss for the big L for the United States again. When the Vatican out progressives you, you're in deep trouble. The Vatican, not exactly a kind of lefty hippie organization, the Catholic Church. Not really known for its sort of free spirit, loosey-goosey kind of thing. So follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, and shave your knuckles for justice. And watch my special Manifest It. Go to GrahamElwood.com because it's being censored. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our ninth month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.